My name is Prabhakar Misra. I'm working as enterprise architect. Today we are going to learn about cloud architect decisions that your application can deploy in single AZ, multi-AZ, and multi-visions. As I work on the various technical day-to-day out solutions, I have noticed that many of us face challenges regarding clear decision when deploying application in AWS, especially in terms of choosing the appropriate availability zone or regional deployment. So this is the common problem. So we are trying to solve this common problem based on some decisions tree. So I'm going to provide you the end-to-end detail how it look like. However, AWS provide a global infrastructure and application can be deployed in a single AZ, multi-AZ, or maybe multi-regional setups. Many architects struggle to decide on the architecture and deployment strategy. Today, I aim to provide a clear picture of the required architecture and application complexity. Let's talk about it. What is the AZ and visions? What is the visions in uh, AWS? So we will let's see. So vision is if we go and look at the AWS global infrastructure, there are 37 regions. A region is a physical geographical location where AWS cluster its data center. Within each region, there is one or more availability zones, which is AZ. AZ are isolated locations with rendered power, networking, and connectivity designed to be independent from each other within the same region. So, I mean, before diving to, let's understand how AWS offering the infrastructure. If we look at, there is a 37 launches in regions. There is a 117 availability zone. Obviously, since it's a wide worldwide, so if we look at the below, there is a global map. There in the one country, it could be your multiple vision, and it possible like in India we have the two visions, and in each region would have the multiple availability zone. Bare minimum two, a maximum it could be your four. Generally, which AWS has. Before before we go the regions and geographical location, it as I said, it 37 regions and 117 availability zone. Obviously, it span across the world basically. The let's talk about the complexity, how it look like in again in our solutions. So we are talking about how my application is having the when we are doing a lot of proposal and solutioning for the different customer driving the enterprise solutions for how it look like. So application can deploy in the different environment. Let's say talk maybe your dev test UAT etc. Then your depending upon the needs, there are certain things which we need to understand. So let's talk about those factors. There is a availability, obviously that is the key. The your complexity, which is also how we can make sure the complexity. So complexity often arises the deciding the architecture of an application that ready to deploy several factors, right? How those several factors will be need to be considered. So including your availability, fault tolerance, maybe resiliency of what sort of resiliency required your application. Then latency is the key concept because we how when we are serving our response to customer, make sure latency will factor on it. So there's no latency would when customer is getting the cost is one of the again key factor. Then security, data compliance to ensure business resiliency, design considerations such as your maybe. So some of the design consideration you need to ask to customer, or you need to think when you are responding to your or designing to your architecture. Designing consideration such as your environmental impact. So maybe you are using the DEB, etc. It's okay. I mean, you don't need the much resiliency, etc. But if you are in the production, definitely it requires. So your environmental impact, your security would be there. Your operational cost is also play the critical, roles. So these are the certain things which we need to uh, first understand, and based on that we need to take some considerations. So let's talk about moving forward. The AWS automatically managing your high availability if you are using the multi-AZ. So prior to that, there is a key considerations. What is the three key consideration we are taking? One, there is a certain aspect look like, let's talk about in terms of application what you need. You need the availability, fault tolerance, latency, cost, operation of complexity, and your residency, and how your compliance is going to be, right? So these are the certain key aspect which we need to. So prior to doing these key considerations, uh, we need to, let's say, discuss about the three main deployment option. So one is the your single lazy. So single lazy, basically your service and resources are deployed within the one region, within the one availability zone, suitable for non-critical workload or cost-sensitive environment. Multi-AZ, you have the redundant, deployment across your multiple availability zones. So suppose in one region, I'm taking, let's say, take two availability zone or three availability zone, it automatically provide the some of the service, it automatically provide the failure in terms of RDS and all. So it help a lot in providing the high availability and fault tolerance within the single regions. Multi regions reduce it basically reduce your, you know fault tolerant, but is it could be your increase your operation complexity. So resources are deployed across multiple AWS region, ensuring your geographical distribution and compliance and local guidelines will follow. So your data resiliency is the one key factor. So suppose I can't live with the data. If my one country had the same data, I can't send to outside my country. Definitely that you need to think about the multi, vision. But again, it would have the additional cost. So these are the things which I just put around how these are the how you can take these consideration during the, architecture decisions. There are certain challenges, obviously. So each deployment option has their own pros and cons. So there, I mean, definitely some has the, benefits, some of them maybe have the challenges. So single AG has limited fault tolerance, while multi AG offer higher resiliency and redundancy. Multi-region deployment provide the highest availability and fault tolerance with the minimum impact in case of the regional disruption. Latency cost, obviously latency cost is also a key factor. So latency cost, your operational complexity and compliance requirement also vary within the each deployment option. Single AZ has the lowest latency and cost, but limited fault tolerance, right? So multi-AZ, if we look at the multi-AZ, if we look at the multi-AZ, obviously it has the cost implication. If you look at that, obviously your multi-region have the highest cost. However, your multi-AZ would have the moderate cost. Obviously, single AZ would have the less cost. Okay, so in terms of high availability and fault tolerance are crucial. Multi-AZ and multi-vision deployment may be necessary, and for the cost-sensitive application, single AZ or multi-AZ deployment could be the suitable. Now, in terms of how we can make sure in taking the decision while driving this is my, I mean, design decision tree. If you look at that, we are starting And then we are asking the some of the workflow sort of. Is your application critical to business operation? If yes, definitely you need to think about your high availability and fault tolerance. Again, if it is yes, then do you serve the user across multiple geographical region? If again yes, are there compliance and data residency requirement? If yes, do you need the disaster recovery across the region? If yes, definitely the deployment in the multi-regional is an option. Definitely, if your cost is the major concern, you can go with the multi-AZ. However, if your application critical to business operation, no. And do you, if your high availability and fault tolerance is no, definitely the single AZ is the best option because it basically give you the lowest cost as well as your operation complexity and the other factor can also help, right? So this is the high level, and even though you can get the better latency if your you know your user are accessing from the same location. So this is the high level nutset decision you can make when you are driving the any architecture. Now, how to use these decisions? Basically, we draw that flow chart. We understand the flow chart. So you need to consider the high availability requirement. Then, if yes, no, then how you can make sure latency and failure trade-off, you can think about it. Your accepted latency or latency issues or additional availability concern, then you can consider the DR and business continuity needs. Then additional consideration, you can think about it cost and complexity, compliance and data residency, and scaling and performance. So these are the certain criteria you need to understand during the architecture. In summary, understanding the application in nutshell, basically we need to understand the application requirement, and using the decision tree architecture can make informed decision about the appropriate architecture and deployment strategy. This help in addressing the cost compliance, additional resiliency, and other factor effectively. Thank you so much, and that's it from my end. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for more videos.